Today, I'm going to continue teaching on everyday consciousness and primordial awakening. The section I'm starting with is titled The Appearances of the Buddhas in the Intermediate Phase of the Bardo. So the 5 kinds of primordial awareness are from the perspective of the Dharmakaya, from an enlightened viewpoint. This is the Buddha's quality body, in that all the qualities of a Buddha radiate or emanate from this body. Now, for us ordinary beings, these qualities are obscured by the 8 collections of consciousness, and the Buddha's quality body is obscured. It doesn't mean that we're missing it, it's just plain obscured. So we have to liberate ourselves from all ignorance and all delusion concerning the appearances of the 8 collections of consciousness. One mistake that a practitioner can make, I can't say how common it is that I will work very hard on becoming enlightened, and then from an enlightened state, I'll be able to deal with my kleshas much better because I'll be an enlightened being. Needless to say, that doesn't work. Darn. So we've got to do the work now, and the fruition of the work, of course, is then this quality body manifests. Now, Trangu Rinpoche at this point is talking about the rest of this Bardo experience from the viewpoint of the Madhyamaka philosophy, specifically the Yogacara Madhyamaka. This gets pretty technical, but this is the perspective of that school of thought. And he says that this quality body is called the potential or the element, or the, quote, heart essence of those gone to bliss. And the Sanskrit name for gone to bliss is Sugata Garbha. He then talks about the way they appear in the intermediate phase of the Bardo. And this is described very well in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And the proper translation of the Tibetan is liberation through hearing in the Bardo. He explains why they don't manifest when we are alive and why they do when we die. So our mind is bound to our body, that we have this very strong connection with our body, and this keeps, he talks about the royal life force, and this keeps our mind bound to the body. This life energy or subtle energy moves between a white aspect, which is present at the top of our heads, and a red aspect, which is present in the lower part of our body. There are spheres frequently referred to as tigle. This life force wind keeps the white tigle up there, and it keeps the red tigle down there. Now, this limits the mind, because as long as the mind is bound to the body, it cannot experience its full vastness. During the dying process, then, this life force dissolves little by little. And at some point, it loses its ability to keep the white tigle up here and the red tigle down there. The white tigle descends and the red tigle ascends. They meet at the heart center. This is not the actual heart, but the heart center, which is in the middle of the body. This is an important part to remember. There's a difference between where the heart is in the body and where the heart center is. The heart center is roughly the same level up and down as the heart, but it's in the center of the body. And when they meet at the heart center, the white tigle and the red tigle, then the body and the mind separates. At that point, or as this is happening, the dissolution of the bodily sensations occur and gradually disappear. It's described in terms of dissolving of the 5 elements. So the water element dissolves into the fire element, and that dissolves into the air element, and so on down the line. As this happens, when the fire element dissolves into the air element, the inner thoughts of the mind are interrupted. Those thoughts that are due to desirous attachment, due to anger and dullness. There's a total of 80 of these types of thoughts that are interrupted at this point. When that happens, then the Dharmakaya Bardo appears. The Dharmadhatu, or the primordial awareness of the Dharmadhatu, is emptiness without a focus, just emptiness, pure potential. It isn't the absence of everything. It's not negation of everything or nihilism, but it is this emptiness. And when these 80 natural thoughts collapse, it is this primordial awareness of the Dharmadhatu that appears in the form of emptiness. Now, to a person that is well trained while they are alive, they have experienced, you might say, a glimpse or a glimmer of this primordial awareness of the Dharmadhatu, not in its full power and extent, because again, you still have your mind bound to your body, so it's impossible, but you've at least experienced it in a smaller version. And this is called the child clear light, or the child luminosity. And to a practitioner that has recognized that, when it manifests in its full extent, it's recognized. In its full extent, it's called the mother clear light, or the mother luminosity. And it's described as meeting of the mother and child. The child that the practitioner has recognized is able to see the mother. Again, this is a result of having trained very thoroughly while one is alive. When you recognize that, you are liberated. The mother and the child are unified. As I said, the true nature of phenomena reveals itself. The body of qualities reveals itself. And that's it. You are liberated. That's all it takes, is one moment of clear recognition. Now, for everybody else, there's no recognition. And Trungpa Rinpoche says your experience then is like being unconscious. Then, after a certain indefinite amount of time, you regain more consciousness and you awaken into the second Bardo, the Bardo of the Sambhogakaya. The third is the Nirmanakaya Bardo, and that is where we choose parents and take rebirth, or don't choose parents and are just blown about by the winds of our karma and take a mother according to our karma. But anyway, he talks about a number of days. In this case, in the Bardo, the days of mental stability are determined by how long one is able to abide in meditative equipoise while you are alive, times 5. So 1 minute of meditative equipoise, if you can do that uninterrupted, that's equal to 5 days. It's totally dependent on your meditation practice. Nothing else influences it. So if you don't practice much, everything will go quickly, like the snap of a finger. And in the Bardos, change will be constantly happening. There'll be no peace. There'll be no rest. You won't be able to recognize your true nature, and you will quickly pass into the Bardo of the Sambhogakaya. But for someone like Trungpa Rinpoche, speaking of Trungpa Rinpoche, someone of his level of realization, days and days can go by before he passes through that stage of the Dharmakaya Bardo. and will not go into the Sambhogakaya Bardo because he'll be liberated. In the Sambhogakaya Bardo, the 5 kinds of primordial awareness are present in our mind stream, and they will appear in this Bardo, one after another. And this happens because the impure is gone, and now we're experiencing our mind in a more pure form. The thing is, we frequently, people in beings in the Bardo do not recognize these beings in their pure form, and they project on them, you might say, qualities other than who they are. So the first Buddha to appear is Vairochana, and this is the primordial awareness contained in our mind. It will manifest as Vairochana. This energy will shine forth. He'll be on a throne with 8 lions, white in color. The mudra is teaching the Dharma, and I've seen a number of different mudras for teaching the Dharma. This is like that, if you can see that one. They're both the same, just one is kind of a mirror image of the other. But I've seen other mudras too. Actually, the thumb and the finger are touching. I kind of had them open, but they're touching. This means teaching the Dharma. The symbol is a wheel. All these Buddhas are sitting in full Vajra posture, and he is adorned with all of the Sambhogakaya ornaments, surrounded by white light. And if you do not recognize him, you will go on and experience the next Buddha, the next head of the next Buddha family. With recognition, there is liberation. One of the reasons why it's difficult to recognize these Buddhas as they appear is they're going to be incredibly bright, very, very bright light. And this isn't in the book. This comes from other places. There is a lot of sound, like thousands and thousands of thunderclaps all at once. It's called the sound of Dharmata. And this can be scary. You're attracted to dimmer lights and quieter places. So this is one reason why it's difficult to recognize. It requires a lot of mental stability. The next that appears is Buddha Akshobhya. He's on a throne of elephants. Akshobhya is called the unshakable, by the way, and hence the throne of elephants. Elephants are pretty steady. He's blue in color. His right hand is in the earth-touching mudra, and his left is in palm up in his lap. Let me see, palm up like that in his lap. And full Vajra position, again, Sambhogakaya ornaments. He may have a Vajra in that left hand in his lap. That's, again, a hand symbol. A lot of times, these hand symbols are not in the statue or the painting. And he is the mirror-like primordial awareness that is present in one's mind. If there is no recognition and liberation, then the Buddha Ratnasambhava appears. His throne has 8 horses on it. He is yellow in color. His right hand has the mudra of supreme generosity, and that is the hand is over and dropping down below his knee, and it's facing outward like white Tara. This is, again, the mudra of generosity, of giving. His left one is in that same mudra of meditation, palm up in his lap, sitting in full Vajra posture, again, Sambhogakaya ornaments. Next comes Buddha Amitabha, and his throne is supported by 8 peacocks. Both his hands are in the meditation mudra, and he's in full Vajra posture, again, Sambhogakaya ornaments. He is red in color, and he represents the expression of discriminating primordial awareness. Without recognition, then the next Buddha, the last one, Amoghasiddhi, appears. His throne is supported by 8 Shangchang birds. And I have to admit that I forgot to look up exactly what the Shangchang birds represent. He is green in color. His right hand is held in the gesture of granting protection. And so that's like this. His left is in the gesture of meditation, full Vajra posture, Sambhogakaya ornaments. This is the expression of primordial awareness that accomplishes all activities. Now, after that, all kinds of other deities appear in the Sambhogakaya Bardo. These deities represent the pure 51 mental formations, and Trungpa Rinpoche doesn't discuss those, and I'm not going to either. He does talk about how there is a lot of discussion about, do these deities appear differently to different people based on, could be culture, how you are brought up, iconography that you have seen while you are alive. There are different depictions of them in the Indian traditions, China traditions, Tibetan traditions, and even within those 3 countries, different traditions of depicting them. And Trungpa Rinpoche feels that these are actually present within our minds, and that as a result, they will appear the way they are, regardless of what you have seen, regardless of what culture you have been brought up in, and so forth. These deities are present like a seed within our energy channels. So they spontaneously manifest with us without us modifying them. He also says that these deities do appear to practitioners who do certain practices. He mentions Togyal, which is a Nyingma practice, and the people that have done that have had these deities appear to them while they are alive. I'm not going to go into that in any more depth. Then, if there is no recognition of these deities, the Nirmanakaya Bardo appears. He does not talk too much about the Nirmanakaya Bardo. It's frequently referred to as the Bardo of becoming, because in this Bardo, you are looking for a new body, for a mother, a parent. And with a high level of realization, a person can actually choose who his parents are, that they can, you might say, observe and then choose who they want for their parents, and obviously choose parents that will bring them up in a close contact with the Dharma and teachers and train them and so forth. The bottom line is that it's important to train in meditation, calmness, and so forth while we are alive, and to meditate on the essence of primordial awareness, which is emptiness. That if we can also contemplate, study, and investigate the characteristics, the divisions, and the nature of these 5 kinds of primordial awareness, this will also enhance our meditative concentration and our insight. And this, of course, becomes very important when we're in the Sambhogakaya Bardo. Makes it much easier to recognize these Buddhas. So this is why we need to know about these 5 heads of the 5 Buddha families, meditate on them. At times we visualize their bodies and their forms. And this is what is called the creation phases of sadhana practice, where we visualize ourselves as a deity. In a lot of them, for instance, White Tara, at some point you visualize the actual deity, you visualize yourself as a deity, and then you actually invite the real deities from their pure lands to come and dissolve into you. In this case, it would be white Tara. And then after that, you then invite the 5 heads of the Buddha families and their consorts in white Tara, and the consorts then have vases and they pour Amrita from their vases into you and kind of consecrate you. So these 5 Buddha families are used in a lot of Vajrayana practices. The next section is the transformation of the 5 elements into the 5 female Buddhas. The 5 male Buddhas transform confusion, various types of confusion, anger, excessive attachment, and so forth. Now, the female Buddhas, their consorts, they represent the transformation of the 5 elements. What's going on here is emptiness is considered, or wisdom is considered feminine, and method is considered masculine. So when you see these deities, the male Buddha and then the female Buddha in union, this is the union of method and wisdom, Top and Sherab in Tibetan. So this is how they manifest, that the expression of pure afflictions are the 5 lords of the Buddha families. These are purified afflictions, purified anger, purified desire, and the purified elements are the 5 female Buddhas. To us ordinary beings, they appear as the 5 elements of earth, water, fire, wind, and space. Now, he lists these Buddhas and their consorts in a little different order than he does when he just lists the Lord of the Buddha families. He starts with Akshobhya here at this point, and he ends with Vairochana. And before he started with Vairochana, and then went on to Akshobhya and so on down the list. So I'm just pointing that out. So Akshobhya is again the expression of completely pure anger. Impure anger causes harm, causes destruction. But there's a positive potentiality that Trungpa Rinpoche talks about, and this can give rise to positive results. So this is the purified anger, this unshakability, no matter what arises. His consort is Mama Ki, and this is the expression of the pure element of water. In its impure form, water can cause harm and destruction. It can also be helpful, like it's nice to get a drink when you're thirsty. Take a shower when you're dirty. But we all know floods, thunderstorms can cause a lot of problems. So water has the qualities of being fluid and being adhesive. When the water is present, dust can't scatter. It holds things together. And I notice that sometimes when I'm getting a piece of paper that's slippery, I go like that and then put my finger on the piece of paper, it's no problem. That's this quality of cohesion. This is one of the purified aspects of water element, is this cohesion, things being tied together. The next is Ratnasambhava. He is the expression of completely pure pride. His consort is Buddha Lochana, which is the completely pure element of earth. Earth is solid, it's hard, it's unmoving, but it's also the ground from which everything grows and develops. So the earth element provides this creative potentiality for everything to grow, everything to abide. In its impure form, the earth can wreak havoc with, let's say, a landslide, an earthquake, and so forth. But the earth element, everything depends on. The building that you are in right now is sitting on the earth. It would not be, shall we say, suspended in space with nothing holding it up. So everything depends on this quality of abiding. The negative aspect of pride is a root for harmful actions to come about. So when pride is purified, the harmful actions no longer have a reason to arise. And it becomes, in Trungpa Rinpoche's words, an aspect of courage. It gives rise to positive qualities of conviction, of thinking, quote, I am able to accomplish this. So pride becomes a source of stability, much like the earth element. And that is the thinking about the earth element relationship to pride and the transformation of pride and the transformation of the earth element. So this is Buddha Lochana. The next is the purification of desirous attachment, which is Amitabha. His consort is Pandara Vasini, and this is the pure element of fire. Again, Amitabha is red, color of fire. So fire has a quality of being both hot and burning. And of course, fire can cause a great deal of harm, but it also can be very beneficial. It's nice to have heat in the wintertime up here. It's nice to cook food. And there's a lot of other benefits that we receive from fire. Heat lets crops grow and ripen. So the root of things ripening is heat. On the other hand, attachment, he points out, is compared to burning, because burning is like the sufferings that arise through excessive attachment. Again, the positive aspect is that heat ripens. Attachment has the power to control us, but heat ripens and helps us progress on the path. So Pandara Vasini is the expression of completely pure element of fire. Next is Amoga Siddhi, and he embodies pure jealousy. And its more positive aspect is to bestow courage and determination to accomplish all actions. And his consort is Samaya Tara, the completely pure element of wind. So again, wind can scatter, it can destroy, symbolizes turmoil, disharmony, but its positive manifestation is wind embraces all activities. It helps develop all activities. The wind is light and moving, so it's the basis of all kinds of movement. Therefore, wind is the very essence of all enlightened activities. And now we get to Vairochana. Again, he is the primordial awareness of the Dharmadhatu, the primordial awareness contained in our mind. It is completely pure mental dullness or ignorance. It is emptiness, but emptiness in terms of potential. Anything can arise in emptiness. Everything that arises in emptiness. His consort is the completely pure element of space. That Visharvi. That probably is not a very good pronunciation of her name. Anyway, all worldly realms rest on space. If it weren't for space, everything would happen in the same point. There wouldn't be space for things to occur in, to spread out. So space offers the possibility for anything to happen. It's very closely related to emptiness. Space is naturally empty in essence. It allows things to grow. There's nothing present within space. Everything can exist within it. Things grow, spread, increase because there is empty space to move into. Here is a quote from the book. All of the activities of the world are possible only because the non-obstructive openness of space. So everything that occurs in the universe does not occur in the same place. When I was preparing this talk and got to that point, he doesn't make this point, but I am going to make this point. The same, it could be said for time. If it weren't for time, everything would happen at the same time, and there'd be no room for growth. Everything would happen at the same time, from the creation of a universe to the destruction of a universe. It all happened. That's it. This kind of gives you a little different glimpse on this, how space works. When we clear away the affliction of ignorance and mental darkness, we begin to get this glimpse of emptiness. We begin to realize emptiness. From the ultimate point of view, Trungpa Rinpoche says, quote, wherever there is emptiness, there is possibility. Without emptiness, nothing whatsoever is possible. So because there is space, there is a possibility for anything to happen, and its pure aspect is expressed in the form of the female consort of Vairochana. These 5 elements constitute our outer world and our own body. Our body is comprised of these 5 elements too. He points out that the elements are different from the object, that the water element is not water, it's more a quality. And if the elements are in balance, things run smoothly. And if they're imbalanced, then problems arise. Physical health happens when the energy of the elements flows regularly and evenly, that sickness doesn't arise. But if these elements are out of balance or their energy decreases, one feels weak, the body becomes sick. However, the meditation and practice of Medicine Buddha is excellent to correct imbalances and to prevent problems in the future. And he feels it's even more effective if you join the traditional meditation practice of Medicine Buddha with these special visualizations on the 5 elements. So I'm going to go into them. The next section is called Meditation to Balance the Elements of the Body. So to repeat here a little bit, from the point of view of complete purity, there are the 5 female wisdom manifestations, the consorts of the 5 Buddhas. From the point of view of impurity, they appear in the form of the 5 elements. Our physical body, as I said, is based on the 5 elements. Flesh corresponds to the element of earth. Blood corresponds to water. Our body's heat corresponds to fire. The breath, wind, consciousness, space. If these are balanced, stable, and settled elements, you feel happy and healthy. Unbalanced, and you become sick and feel unwell. So what you would do when you are practicing Medicine Buddha to restore the balance and heal is visualize your own body in the form of Medicine Buddha and concentrate on the syllable Hung in your heart center and use it as an expression of these 5 elements. So for the fire element, this Hung in your heart radiates light in the form of red light. And this red light pervades the entire outer world. In doing so, it extracts the essence of the fire element from the entire world, from the environment. The red light, as it's doing that, increases in its radiance, in its brightness, and it expands. Then it comes back and enters your body, visualized as the Medicine Buddha, and enters the Hung in your heart center and dissolves into the Hung, or melts into the Hung, saturates it with the energy of the fire element. Then it burns away all forms of sickness, imbalance, and so forth in the body. And this restores balance and well-being and good health to the body. The next is the earth element. Here, the Hung radiates, even though it's a blue Hung. He doesn't talk about that. I'm kind of assuming that since the Hung is blue in the Medicine Buddha practice, that it remains blue, but here you radiate yellow light. And this yellow light, again, pervades the entire world, all that is the nature of earth, and it extracts that energy of the earth. The yellow light increases in brightness, radiance, expands, just like talked earlier. It returns, comes into the heart center, and then dissolves into or melts into the Hung syllable. And then from there, it spreads throughout your body, mainly the flesh. The whole body is vibrating from the union of the energy of all external and internal earth elements. So it is, you might say, bringing into balance and revitalizing our earth element throughout our body. The next is the water element. So now the Hung radiates white light. Again, it goes out into the environment, touches all the earth element in the natural world, such as springs, rivers, lakes, oceans, and it extracts the energy of the water element from them. The white light increases in intensity, spreads, and then it comes back to the heart center of yourself, visualized as medicine Buddha, and is absorbed by the Hung. And now it spreads throughout your body, and it nourishes the blood, causes your complexion to become smooth and healthy, and brings everything into balance. The next is the wind element. This time the Hung radiates green light. The green light gathers the energy of the wind element throughout the external environment. This again causes the light to increase in brilliance and strength, comes back into your body at the heart center, then spreads throughout your body and restores the energy of the wind element in all those areas that it is weak. And so then the body becomes, quote, vibrantly energized. So these would be the visualizations using these 5 elements to improve our health and our vitality. The next section is the way to meditate in order to enhance the energy of the elements in your body. So he says that in most non-Buddhist religions, we meditate on a deity as being outside of our physical body. And the deity is a protector or a messenger. And he says, well, that's fine. But in Buddhism, the Buddhist tradition, the deity is not outside of the physical body. That one meditates on deity as being one's own essence, expressing itself through the arising of the deity. So we think that I am the deity, and it is our conviction, you might say, that makes it effective. If you think I might be the deity, or, well, I don't know, but let's try it and see what happens, then it's not going to be very effective. It's being convinced that you are the deity. And of course, it's little by little by little. It's not an all or nothing situation. And the reason why this is that we possess Buddha nature, that this is our essence. We have not recognized it, but because we possess this innately pure Buddha nature, that we also possess these pure elements and the pure lords of the Buddha families. It's acknowledging that this is the way things are. So to wrap up this book, we need to think I am the medicine Buddha, allow the light to radiate from the Hung at the heart center, gather the energy of the elements, dissolve the energy back into the Hung in your heart, and feel that you are actually creating benefit. Also, you could do this thinking that you are wishing benefit to other people. There are a lot of different ways you can do medicine Buddha, and he just is touching on a few of them. The point being, conviction, confidence, devotion are extremely important when we're doing these practices. Now, the length of time that one stays in these various states